Greetings, all! Today, we'll be examining the uncommon grass ghost-type Pokemon Bramblin and its rare evolution Bramblegast, the two collectively known as the Tumbleweed Pokémon. Though they seemingly might get thrown around as soon as the wind picks up around them, the members of the Bramblin family are still devious creatures that can make themselves a menace to those not expecting the physical power that they can wield in combat.
Bramblin have woody bodies that are shaped much like normal tumbleweeds, but with dark brown root bases and woody tendrils that curl upwards into a ball shape, lightening in color from the root base to the tips of their woody tendrils. Inside, they possess a single pair of seed-like eyes with a dark brown outer form and glowing orange-red internal pupils. Their evolved form, Bramblegast, have the same general form as Bramblin, but with a much larger set of tendrils with sharp barbs jutting out from the surface to give them a far pricklier form. In addition, their eyes now have a pair of woody eyebrows that cover most of their eye's circumference, with one seed eye that is dark brown on the outside and orange-red on the inside, while the other has the opposite color scheme.
The members of the Bramblin family are unique among ghosts, not just for their plant-like forms, but more importantly, how they are formed in the first place.
Most material objects need to be possessed for any type of spirit to bond with them, but in some cases it is possible that this bonding can occur because they are trapped in an item, like Spiritomb, and the members of the Bramblin family are no different in this regard. These creatures are typically formed when a spirit of some sort is caught on the sharp branches and forms of a tumbleweed that has been infused intensely with feelings of loss and confusion, likely from individuals that died in the arid environments where they tend to dwell, their regrets and negative emotions clinging to these wind-blown plants. This can cause any spirit that gets caught in their branches to then become stuck, anchored against their will initially to these plants until they decide to bind with them in order to at least give them a direct way to control their fate. As such, Bramblin and Brambleghast are a bit at the mercy of the wind with their light bodies, and while this might make it hard for them to direct where they go with even a moderate breeze, it does do them some good, such as giving them access to the signature Wind Rider ability, which amplifies their attack stat whenever they are hit by a wind-based move, though others that are more adept at using their ghostly powers in the wind to bypass defensive barriers to their attacks can also have Infiltrator as a hint ability. This can also cause them to congregate in large numbers, however, and it is not uncommon for these creatures to cover entire buildings if they are blown together in a swarm by a particularly strong wind. As far as the stats are concerned in the case of Bramblegast, while these creatures do not have much to offer in the way of serious power as a result of their unusual and somewhat frail forms, they are able to move decently fast and lash out with potent physical attacks thanks to their thorny bodies, so their base attack and speed stats are above average for fully evolved grass and ghost-type Pokemon, giving them something to work with in any fight.
Bramblin as they are, do not have a lot of power to them and cannot really control where they go, being pushed by the wind to wherever it may take them.
This more than makes them helpless wanderers of a sort in some of the strongest winds, and while they are usually not afraid of being blown anywhere that might pose a severe danger to them, they cannot maintain the forms of their heavily damaged or otherwise eaten, so any journey can be a harrowing one for them. At the very least, however, they have an advantage in that there are not many predators that would choose to dine on their bristly, crunchy forms, and they can survive for a very long time in the state because of the natural resilience of the plant they are bound to. What might not be apparent at first, however, is that they are extremely vulnerable to rain and loathe it, as it can restore suppleness of their forms and make it possible for them to more easily bend or even break. As such, if they can help it, they will typically maneuver their forms so that if a strong wind from a storm does manage to hit them, they will be blown someplace where they can seek shelter until the rain has passed. This may not always go well for them, but Bramblin can live for centuries in some cases, so it is clear that they have mastered this skill enough to give them an edge against Mother Nature in the wild. Because of their connection to the negative emotions that caught them in these forms in the first place, Bramblin need time for the spirit part of them to cope and eventually embrace this fate, and this typically only occurs when they have had the chance to roll around for a considerable amount of time in order to get used to their new bodies. If they are given 1,000 steps to do this, it can act as the push they need to fully embrace their forms, and in turn evolve into a Bramblegast with a bit of extra experience in the new state. While not much changes in these creatures when they do manage to evolve, what does notably become more prominent is their aggressiveness and predatory capabilities. While Bramblin passively feed on the life energy of nearby creatures, Bramblegast are large and strong enough to be more direct about their efforts, and will act much like Cacturn do, following prey in the sun and then waiting for night to fall. Once they have secured the location of a possible prey item, they will roll over and open the crown on their head, using their branches to grab and essentially swallow their target, using their sharp branches and ghostly powers to drain the life energy from them. They will do this until their prey is completely dry and left as little more than a husk, after which they will release them and roll off to find something else to dine on. While their lightweight nature means they don't really need to feed that often, this can still make them a bit of a horror to handle in some cases, and thus should be approached cautiously if one does not wish to be caught in their dangerous branches for even a moment or two.
understand that many might not think much of these strange plants at first, but you would be best prepared for them, as they can still make for unique opponents to handle if you're not careful around them. I feel a bit sorry for Bramblin, since they never really asked to be stuck in the form they occupy, but sometimes spirits can be victimized in this case by nature. Even so, they can still make good use of their odd powers, even if the wind might be a real boss when it comes to where they go. Their evolution into Bramblegast can finally give them some serious agency in where they move, and thus can be a useful upgrade for them. But they can also be a nasty surprise that can make short work of most beasts smaller than them. The sheer horror that must be experienced while stuck inside their bodies must be pretty harrowing, having the life drained from your body until you're just as much of a dry husk as they are. So make sure to keep pets and small friends far away from them, or they might meet a gruesome fate the moment they let their guard down.
Though they might not appear to be the largest of threats to some, the members of the Bramblin family can be a serious pain to deal with if they can get their prickly bodies around someone. You might have to take a bit of a journey with them in order to make the most of their power, but given it can be done to evolve them at any level of experience, it can be worth it to give them as much power as possible as quickly as possible in turn.
Just do yourself a favor and make sure to keep an eye out for strong winds if you dare to enter into their territory. They might not always be a serious threat on their own, but with a strong enough gust, you might find yourself facing a swarm of them that can overwhelm even the most seasoned of desert adventurers.
Thank you for watching this video. It brings me great joy to be able to speak to you all in the world each and every time we meet like this, to explore the many different facets of both the world of Pokemon as we know it, and the world as we live it, through every adventure we have with Pokemon by our side. If you'd like to, please subscribe, ring the bell and all that jazz to keep yourself updated on content uploads and other materials of the like. You can also follow me on Twitter if you'd like to know right away when something new is uploaded, and my written works, from which most of this is based on, can be found on DeviantArt. Links to both can be found in the description down below. Remember that the world of Pokemon is a place full of wonder and mystery, and you never know what to expect. So, stay vigilant, keep watch, and always be prepared for the unexpected. Until next time, trainers and friends of all sorts, have a wonderful time.